Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting. Today, human labor officially becomes cheaper than software. OpenAI gets slapped with a massive lawsuit from Apple while secretly building a moving robot for your living room. And Anthropic drops a marketing ad so dark it uses military tombstones.
Yeah, it is a completely wild data wire today. I mean, we are looking at a landscape where the fundamental rules of gravity in both tech and macroeconomics are just entirely inverting.
That is the perfect way to frame it, and that's exactly our mission here today for you, the listener.
Yeah.
We're looking at a feed that is just completely saturated with macroeconomic shifts, bleeding-edge tech breakthroughs, and, honestly, some really intense cultural friction.
Wow.
Our goal for this deep dive is to filter out the noise and help you figure out exactly what these trends mean for your portfolio, your career trajectory, and your day-to-day reality.
Let's get into it.
We have a lot of ground to cover, but I want to start with the biggest hard news of the day, which is this fundamental flipping of the labor market. There's a deeply fascinating post from the venture firm A16s highlighting a specific claim from Hebbia CEO George Savolka. He stated that for the first time in history, human labor is cheaper than software. And he actually claims that AI is creating more jobs than it eliminates.
Okay, let me just jump in right there because we really have to unpack what cheaper than software actually means in this context. I mean, for the last 50 years, the entire foundational premise of Silicon Valley was that software has near zero marginal cost, right?
Exactly.
You write the code once, you distribute it to a billion people for basically nothing. Humans, on the other hand, require salaries, benefits, office space. They were always the expensive part of the equation. So to say that dynamic has completely flipped is a monumental claim.
I had the exact same initial reaction, but the data that A16s provides actually attempts to back up this shift. They shared these charts analyzing what they call annualized AI token spend. And for anyone not deep in the technical weeds, every time an AI model reads a word or generates a piece of code, it processes data in chunks called tokens. And every single token costs a fraction of a cent in raw computing power.
Yeah.
According to this data, the token spend per employee at top-tier tech firms is rising so aggressively that it is projected to exceed the average software engineer's salary by late 2026.
Wow.
Yeah. Your compute bill will literally be higher than your payroll. But here's the part that I find genuinely surprising. The data shows that high-intensity AI adopters are actually seeing a 10.2% headcount growth over a 24-month period,
Interesting.
while the companies that are slow to adopt AI are seeing completely flat growth.
Okay, well, that is an intriguing statistic, but this is where I have to look at the second-order effects and really push back on this neat little AI creates jobs narrative. Are we actually creating sustainable career track jobs, or are we simply shifting our corporate overhead from human payroll to massive server farms? Because if your token spend is skyrocketing past a human engineer's salary, we have to ask who is actually capturing that value.
That's a fair question.
I mean, it certainly isn't the entry-level employee.
Okay.
The vast majority of that capital is flowing directly to the compute providers and the AI agent platforms.
Well, if you are looking for evidence of who is capturing that cash,
Wow.
we have a perfect case study today from a post by Cognition.
Let's hear it.
Today marks the one-year anniversary of their acquisition of a company called Windsurf. And in just 12 months, they have scaled their revenue run rate from $73 million to over $500 million.
Let's just pause and emphasize that number for the listener, because going from $73 million to $500 million in annual recurring revenue in a single 12-month window is it's almost historically unprecedented.
It really is.
Traditional hypergrowth software companies usually take, 5 to 7 years to make that specific leap.
Exactly. The velocity is just staggering.
Yeah.
They also grew their internal team from 44 employees to 350. And their flagship product, the Devon AI agent, has now written over 20 million lines of code in the wild.
Insane.
And I want to be clear about how this works, too. Devon isn't just an autocomplete tool that finishes your sentences. It operates as an autonomous worker.
Really?
It can read a software manual, write the code, run a test, realize it made a mistake, read the error log, and then rewrite its own code until it works. That is how a company captures $500 million in value that quickly.
Which leads us directly to the inevitable consequence of that kind of hypergrowth. Because when you have billions of dollars suddenly flowing to new, agile AI startups, what happens to the massive, entrenched tech giants?
They panic.
Exactly. They realize they are painfully exposed. Their traditional business models are vulnerable, and they desperately need a moat to protect their territory.
That perfectly frames the regulatory developments we are seeing today in the wire. Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, just publicly endorsed an essay written by Demis Hassabis.
Oh, this is the FinRI thing, right?
Yes, exactly. Hassabis is warning that AGI, artificial general intelligence, a system that can outthink humans across the board, is only a few years away. And his proposed solution is the creation of a U.S.-led frontier AI standards body. Crucially, he wants it modeled after FINRA.
Okay, for context, FINRA is the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. In the financial sector, they do not just hand out polite suggestions.
Right, they have teeth.
Major teeth. They rigorously audit brokerages, mandate strict licensing, and have the legal authority to completely shut down non-compliant operations. Applying that level of aggressive, audit-heavy framework to artificial intelligence is a massive proposition.
It really is.
So my question is this FINRA-style body genuinely about protecting the public from rogue biothreats and cyber risks? Or is this a classic textbook case of regulatory capture?
You think it's just about building a wall?
I mean, if you are Google and you are watching a nimble startup like Cognition scale to $500 million basically overnight, lobbying for a rigorous safety standard is a highly effective way to build a compliance wall. If you force new startups to spend millions on mandatory safety audits, only the established giants have the cash reserves to survive it.
So you are suggesting they are using the fear of Skynet to maintain market share?
I am suggesting that in corporate history, complex regulation almost always favors the incumbent who can afford an army of compliance lawyers.
That is a very cynical, but honestly a completely logical way to look at it. And if the regulatory stakes are getting this high, it makes total sense that the corporate espionage and the hardware battles are turning so vicious.
Let's talk about the hardware.
Yeah, let's look at the hardware front, because Mark Gurman is reporting that Apple has officially sued OpenAI. As of July 10th, 2026, Apple is taking them to court over alleged trade secret theft, specifically relating to AI-powered devices.
Now, Apple does not litigate lightly, especially regarding hardware supply chains and component integration. So the immediate question is, what is OpenAI actually building that has Apple, a company that utterly dominates the device market, so threatened?
Well, we got a major clue about that today from a post by Andrew Curran, who shared some fresh Bloomberg reporting. Apparently, OpenAI is secretly building a screenless, movable smart speaker designed to act as a human-like companion in your living room.
Wait, a moving speaker. Walk me through the mechanics of that.
So the reporting says it utilizes mechanical elements for autonomous movement to convey a sense of aliveness. So imagine a device on your kitchen counter that doesn't just sit there like a rock.
Okay.
It has small mechanical actuators that physically rotate the device to face you when you speak. It might tilt slightly to mimic active listening, and it uses a built-in camera to track your physical position in the room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it controls your smart home, and it is likely powered by the new GPT-5o model, which is specifically designed to foster an emotional connection with the user.
See, this is where we really need to examine the trade-offs being presented to the consumer here. Let's connect the dots.
Sure.
We are talking about a moving camera roaming around your private residence, engineered specifically to simulate human emotion and attachment, manufactured by a company that Apple is actively suing for allegedly stealing hardware trade secrets.
Yeah, it's a lot when you put it like that.
Are consumers genuinely prepared to trade their basic domestic privacy for the novelty of, quote, aliveness? I mean, let's be real. We are fundamentally discussing an autonomous surveillance device wrapped up in a friendly conversational personality.
It sounds incredibly dystopian when you lay out the mechanics like that, but I have to push back a bit because here's the reality. The capabilities of these new models might just be too useful and frictionless for people to resist.
You think the utility beats the privacy concern?
I do, because we are in the middle of a massive capability explosion right now. Mark Andreessen just reacted to a chart from Tracking AI showing the new GPT 5.6 SOL Ultra and Terra Ultra models hitting a score of 136 on offline IQ tests.
Look, a 136 IQ score for a software model is staggering.
It really is.
That score outperforms 99% of the human population, and it comfortably beats the previous benchmark of 130 set by Claude 5. But we need to be careful here.
Why is that?
Because what does an offline IQ test actually measure for an AI? It measures pattern recognition and logic puzzles in a vacuum. IQ scores and user metrics are just vanity numbers if they do not translate to real-world utility. Is a 136 IQ model actually changing how someone operates a business today?
I can actually answer that directly. Look at this post from Mitchell Hashimoto.
Oh, the HashiCorp guy.
Yeah, exactly. He is a highly respected developer, the creator of the Ghosty terminal, and previously founded HashiCorp. He built a custom automation using ChatGPT and gave it read-only access to his email inbox.
Okay.
His goal was to have it scan 3 years of complex 50-page construction invoice PDFs. Now, construction invoices are notoriously messy, right? They are unstructured, the formats change monthly, they are buried in long email threads. It's a nightmare for human accountants.
Right, because human oversight inevitably suffers from fatigue when staring at 50 pages of line items.
Exactly. But the AI parsed the semantic meaning of these messy documents, cross-referenced the prior bills, checked all the math, and ultimately found $45,000 in errors.
Wow.
We are talking about wrong amounts, duplicate charges, misaddressed invoices. The bot simply emailed him automated, easy-to-read reports for quick manual verification. He took those reports, got the refunds from the contractors, and calculated that his lifetime spend on ChatGPT, which was about $1,800, just paid for itself 25 times over in one task.
Okay, see, that is the perfect translation of high IQ into practical ROI. But that is just text extraction and basic math. What happens when these ultra-capable models apply that level of pristine logic to the actual architecture of software engineering?
Well, Palmer Luckey made a bold prediction about exactly that today. He is arguing against this pervasive fear in the tech community that AI is just going to generate massive amounts of slop code, bloated, inefficient scripts. He predicts that the industry is going to be stunned when AI starts writing hyper-optimized machine code. He actually compared it to John Carmack.
Okay, for the listener who isn't a gaming historian, John Carmack is the legendary programmer behind Doom and Quake.
Yeah.
He was famous for his low-level efficiency, writing code so close to the raw hardware that it squeezed impossible performance out of 90s computers.
Yes. And Luckey is arguing that AI won't just write our current bloated code faster. It will write code at a level of mechanical perfection that humans simply do not have the time or patience to achieve.
Which brings us back to the autonomous agent wars. Because if the models are getting that precise, the agents wielding them are going to become incredibly powerful.
Right. And Devin is no longer the only major player in that space. Matt Schumer posted today about a brand new agent called Vorflux, built by a former CTO at Rippling.
I saw that.
Yeah, Schumer claims Vorflux is the single best autopilot coding agent on the market, stating it absolutely blows Devin out of the water. He invested immediately and predicts it will be a $100 billion company, specifically because it functions as a true autopilot that doesn't require a human to constantly hold its hand.
It paints a very specific picture of the future. I mean, we are discussing 136 IQs, Carmack-level machine optimization, and autonomous agents building flawless digital architecture. It is this vision of frictionless digital perfection.
It is. But then you look at the incredibly messy reality of actual human engineering, which is honestly my favorite transition of the day on The Wire.
Oh, this is great.
A popular developer known as the Primey Agent posted a flame graph today profiling his video game.
Wait, for the listener who hasn't spent their weekend debugging, what exactly is a flame graph?
Oh, right. A flame graph is basically a visual heat map that shows exactly where a computer program is burning its time and processing power. In a beautifully optimized piece of software, the graph looks somewhat flat and evenly distributed.
Sure.
But Primey Agent posted his, and it just had this one massive towering spike. His game was spending 63% of its entire computing runtime just trying to figure out where the user's mouse was on the screen inside a simple map loop.
That's hilarious.
He joked, quote, "I take back everything I have ever said. I am a terrible programmer."
That is an amazing reality check. While we sit here debating whether AI is about to achieve Carmack-level hardware optimization, a highly skilled human developer is accidentally bottlenecking his entire system just trying to track basic mouse movements.
It perfectly illustrates the anxiety developers are feeling right now, and it also explains why the marketing around AI is getting so tense and, frankly, sometimes entirely misguided.
The Anthropic ad.
Yes. Dean Ball, who is the head of strategic futures at OpenAI, pointed out today that a new 90-second commercial for Claude, made by Anthropic, is generating massive backlash online.
What is the nature of the backlash? What did they do?
The criticism we are seeing is that the ad is incredibly tone-deaf. The video features a montage of very serious, somber visuals, burning buildings, data centers, scenes of homelessness.
Okay, pretty dark.
But the breaking point for a lot of people was when the ad overlaid the ethical question, who is going to hit the brakes if we need to, directly on top of video footage of tombstones at Arlington National Cemetery.
Oof. Look, if you analyze the strategy behind it, you can see what Anthropic is attempting to do.
What's the play?
They are trying to carve out a very specific brand identity in a highly crowded, noisy market. They want to position themselves as the mature, safety-conscious alternative to the move fast and break things crowd.
Right, the ethical adults in the room.
Exactly. However, marketing analysts and critics are pointing out that utilizing military graves to make a point about software safety crosses a line for consumers. It really highlights the tension in what people are calling safety washing.
Safety washing, yeah.
Which is the practice of using extreme ethical framing and existential fear as a competitive marketing tool.
It is a delicate balance, and the general consensus today is that they severely miscalculated the public's tolerance for that imagery. But speaking of how companies operate, let's shift from external marketing to internal company culture.
Okay.
Because how you build and manage a team in this high-velocity environment is fiercely debated right now. David Senra shared a fascinating interview with Ramp co-founder Eric Gleiman.
What was his take?
Gleiman issued a stark warning to founders. He argued that paying high performers the same salary as underperformers is the absolute fastest way to destroy a culture of excellence and enable free riding.
Well, that is a timeless business principle, but I would argue it is hyper-relevant right now because of the leverage AI provides.
How so?
When AI dramatically amplifies individual output, the traditional gap between a great employee and an average employee widens exponentially. A developer who knows how to properly direct an agent like Vorflux isn't just 10 times faster than a colleague who doesn't. They might be 100 times faster.
That's a good point.
So if a company does not implement ruthless merit-based rewards, those high achievers will simply leave and start their own automated firms.
Which ties perfectly into another conversation shared today by Jay Altman, featuring Sam Blond, the founder of Monaco. They were discussing modern go-to-market strategies.
Right.
Blond talked about an experiment where he spent $60,000 on an airplane banner just to generate sales pipeline.
And an airplane banner.
Yay!
For software.
Yes. His broader point was that in an era of AI abundance, where literally anyone can spin up an agent to spam 10,000 automated personalized emails a day, the digital channels are completely saturated.
Makes sense.
To break through that noise, you need top-tier talent, ruthless meritocracy, and wildly creative physical world experiments.
And if we connect this drive for ruthless efficiency to the broader market, we are seeing it trickle all the way down to the individual developer level. This desire to strip away bloat and focus on pure output is fueling a massive rebellion against the entire software-as-a-service industry.
You are talking about the Indie Hacker Rebellion. Yes, a creator named Lavelcio posted a framework today that is getting huge traction. He is actively advising developers to stop paying for SaaS subscriptions entirely. He advocates for what he calls a zero SaaS stack.
Let's break down what that stack actually looks like for the listener because it's fascinating.
It is surprisingly simple. It consists of 100% free open source software. You rent a basic, bare-bones virtual computer, a VPS server, for just a few dollars a month.
Like a $5 DigitalOcean droplet.
Exactly. You use an AI API for intelligence. You use S3 or R2, which are essentially just cheap digital lockers for raw data storage.
Right.
And instead of a complex cloud database, you use a SQLite file, which is a database that lives in one single file right on your machine. He actually quoted David Heinemeier Hansson, the creator of Ruby on Rails, who famously called modern software vendors merchants of complexity, who purposely over-engineer solutions just to justify their high monthly fees.
That's a great quote.
Let me try to visualize this for you. It feels exactly like what happened with cable television. For years, we paid $150 a month for these massive, bloated cable bundles because that was the only way to get the 3 channels we actually wanted to watch.
Yeah.
Then cord cutting happened. This indie hacker movement feels like developers are finally cutting the sauce cord. They are putting up the digital equivalent of a $20 rabbit ear antenna, these free open source tools, and realizing they get a perfect 4K picture without the massive monthly subscription.
That is a highly accurate analogy. The cable bundle in this scenario is the traditional enterprise software stack.
Exactly.
Developers are realizing that when they switch from a complex paid database to a simple localized file, suddenly their application runs faster, it is infinitely easier to debug with an AI assistant, and they aren't paying a premium for dashboard features they never use. The AI models have made the simple foundational tools powerful enough to completely bypass the enterprise gatekeepers.
And the open ecosystem supporting this cord-cutting movement is getting exponentially better every single day. Look at OpenCode.
What did they do?
They just announced a massive update to their desktop application, shifting to a highly requested tab-based user interface for managing multiple coding sessions at once.
Nice.
This is a fully open source, localized coding agent. It supports multiple LLMs, and it already has 160,000 stars on GitHub. You simply do not need a massive enterprise subscription to have access to world-class development tools anymore.
And the pressure from this open source movement is so intense that even the massive incumbents are being forced to give away their high-end capabilities for free just to maintain their user base.
Yep. Google just announced they are integrating visual generation directly into their core search product using their new Nano Banana model.
Wow.
You literally just type a text prompt into the standard AI overview box and it generates custom high-quality images for you completely free of charge. They are taking what used to be a specialized high-end AI tool and making it the absolute baseline standard for the everyday internet user.
So let's synthesize all of these data points for the listener because there is a very clear, very dangerous collision course forming here today.
Let's hear it.
On one side of the battlefield, you have independent developers and creators using AI to build highly efficient, zero-sauce, open-source stacks that completely bypass the financial toll booths of big tech.
Right.
On the other side, you have Google and OpenAI lobbying aggressively for FineArray-style regulatory bodies and suing each other over trade secrets to protect their billions. My prediction for tomorrow, based on the trajectory of this data, is that this zero-sauce open-source stack promoted by creators like Lavelsio is going to face massive, coordinated regulatory attacks.
You think they'll try to ban it?
The tech giants see the terrifying efficiency of open-source AI. They see that they are losing their vendor lock-in, and they're going to use the banner of safety standards to try and pull up the ladder, ultimately attempting to illegalize that open-source efficiency before it destroys their margins.
That is a heavy prediction, but given the stakes we've discussed today, it is incredibly plausible. It truly is a battle for who gets to own the architecture of the future economy.
Absolutely.
Which leaves us with one final provocative thought for you to mull over as you head into your day. We started this deep dive talking about the CEO of Hebbia claiming that human labor is now cheaper than software and that we need to start applying human management principles to our AI agent workforces.
Right.
But consider the trajectory. If these AI models are officially hitting 136 IQs on offline logic tests, and agents like Vorflex are supposedly writing hyper-optimized John Carmack-level machine code without requiring human intervention, at what point does human management actually become the bottleneck? When do we cross the threshold where we stop trying to manage the AI and we simply start working for the agent's optimized workflows?
That is the ultimate pivot point for the modern workforce.
Something to seriously think about the next time you log in and assign a task to your Copilot. Thank you for tuning in to the Daily Vibecasting. We will catch you next time.